Viewer discretion is advised. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only. No one saw it coming. Not the judge, not the press. But when Jay-Z looked Diddy in the eyes and said, "I'm not going down for you," everything changed. One sentence, and just like that, the silence was broken. After months of speculation, headlines, and lawsuits tying him to one of the darkest celebrity trials in recent memory, Jay-Z finally spoke, in open court, with the world watching. They said he was finished. They called him complicit, just another name in the room. But now he's drawing a line, because this isn't just about Diddy. It's about secrets, about silence, about how far a scandal can spread and who it drags down with it. Real quick, drop a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. I love seeing this community come together. Let's get into it. That was December 2024. That was when everything changed. The accusation hit the internet like a bomb. A civil lawsuit filed in New York. Jane Doe reported a serious violation that in 2000, at an after-party following the MTV Video Music Awards, something terrible happened to her. Not just with Diddy, but by another man too. A powerful one, a household name, a legend. And in the amended filing, she named him Jay-Z. No one saw that coming, not even Jay. The claims sounded like fiction, but the damage was real. Within hours, Jay-Z released a statement calling the allegations frivolous, fictitious, and appalling. He didn't hesitate. He said he'd never met the woman, never been at that house, and wasn't even at the party she described. He said it was blackmail, that she'd been pushed into it, and that the lawyer behind it all, Tony Busby, was using his name to build a media circus. But Jay-Z didn't stop there. He did something most celebrities never do. He fought back. Before the case could gain momentum, he sued. Not just the woman, but the lawyer, for defamation, for extortion, for dragging his name through the mud for a payday. He didn't just deny it, he declared war. And that's when things got loud. Behind the scenes, Jay-Z's legal team launched an investigation. They tracked down Jane Doe. They knocked on her door. They asked her, flat out, did Jay-Z have anything to do with that night? And her answer? According to sworn statements, he didn't do it. She said Busby was the one who brought Jay-Z into it, that she didn't even mention him until Busby started pushing, that the story wasn't hers, that the lawsuit, at least the part about Jay-Z, was a setup. The next day, she dropped the case, with prejudice, meaning she can't refile it. Not now, not ever. To most people, that would be the end. But for Jay-Z, it was just the beginning. Because even with the lawsuit gone, the damage lingered. His kids had seen the headlines. Beyoncé had sat him down. The internet didn't care about retractions, and his reputation, one he built from Marcy Projects to Madison Square Garden, was now smeared across every gossip blog in the world. So when Jay-Z stepped into court this week, facing Diddy for the first time since the accusations hit, he didn't hold back. He pointed right at the man he once called a brother. And he spoke the words no one expected. I'm not going down for you. Because here's the truth. Jay-Z might be cleared, but Diddy's still in the hot seat. 3 federal indictments, trafficking, racketeering, transporting women across state lines, multiple civil lawsuits, dozens of accusers, some anonymous, some are famous, some from decades ago, all telling stories that paint a picture of a man who used money, power, and fear to control everything and everyone around him. And the most chilling part? This isn't just about Diddy. It's about who helped him, who knew, who stayed silent. And Jay-Z's message is crystal clear. He won't be one of them. Because now, the courtroom isn't just a legal battleground. It's a war zone for the culture, where silence is guilt, where fame doesn't protect you, where even legends bleed. And while Jay-Z might not be on trial, he's certainly on the witness list. Why? Because prosecutors want to know more about that party in 2000, about who was there, about who left, about who saw what. And in that web of connections, Jay-Z's name keeps coming up. But he's not hiding from it. He's walking straight into it. And he's got receipts. His legal team has already shown time-stamped photos placing him elsewhere that night. Security footage, eyewitnesses, even nightclub rosters. According to them, he was at Lotus, not some mystery mansion in New Jersey. And as for Diddy, The evidence isn't looking good. Kid Cudi just testified about the time there was a mysterious car incident after dating Cassie, Diddy's longtime ex. Cassie herself says Diddy allegedly made a violent threat. Then it did. In her civil lawsuit, she called it a message, a warning, proof that if you crossed him, there were consequences. And in court, prosecutors asked Cudi directly, "Did you believe Diddy was behind it?" He didn't even blink. Yes, that's the kind of case this is. His car was destroyed under suspicious circumstances. Secret recordings, alleged freak-off parties, people disappearing from the industry without explanation, bodyguards with horror stories. And now, a jury decides if it all leads back to one man. And while Diddy keeps pleading not guilty, the walls are closing in. Which brings us back to Jay-Z, because there's one thing he can't let happen: being dragged down in someone else's downfall. He spent 2 decades building something different, a legacy, a business empire, a reputation as a father, a husband, a mogul. And now, one man's spiral is threatening to take it all with him. Jay's not having it. So when he said those words, "I'm not going down for you," he wasn't just talking to Diddy. He was talking to everyone who once whispered about him but never said it out loud. To the brands who'd called him a visionary but paused their sponsorships when his name made the wrong kind of headline. To the boardroom partners who suddenly stopped answering calls. To the artists who came up under Roc Nation but were too quiet, too cautious, too afraid to say, "That's not the man I know." Because when the news broke, there was a pause. Not just in public perception, but in corporate allegiance, in deals, in money. Jay-Z had spent years turning his name into a brand so bulletproof it sat alongside Apple and the NFL. But overnight, that armor cracked. Spotify scrubbed his name from homepage banners. Champagne distributors delayed shipment orders. Tidal was flooded with comments, some in defense, some asking questions. And it wasn't about guilt, it was about perception. Suddenly, people didn't just want his music, they wanted answers. Jay-Z, the father, the businessman, the legacy builder, was now a name buried in a paragraph next to the word assault. And that was a line he refused to let stand. So when he stepped into that courtroom, when he looked Diddy in the face and said what no one else would say, it wasn't about bravado. It was about survival. It was about sending a message, not just to the jury, not just to Diddy, but to every room that had once treated him like family, then quietly shut the door when the headlines changed. Because before the lawsuits, before the statements, before the courtroom glare, there was a different Jay-Z. The one who toasted Diddy's birthday with Cristal in the south of France. The one who once said in a backstage clip, "We all we got." Their friendship was more than photo ops. It was a blueprint, a script for how black men could rise in industries built to shut them out. Fashion, liquor, art, real estate. They didn't just make money. They made meaning. They made culture. That's what made the silence so loud. Because when Diddy's name started appearing in court documents, when the accusations snowballed from whispers to CNN headlines, people didn't just look at him. They looked at who stood beside him all those years, who co-signed the parties, who showed up in the promo videos, who said nothing. And Jay-Z knew it. He knew the culture would ask, "Did you really not know? Or did you just choose not to see?" So when he finally spoke, when he said, "I'm not going down for you," it wasn't just about clearing his name, it was about reclaiming his place in the story. Not as a footnote, not as a bystander, but as someone who finally, publicly, said enough. But if Jay-Z thought his statement would put the whispers to rest, he underestimated just how deep the web had grown. Because the investigation into Diddy's alleged crimes wasn't just about individual incidents, it was about a system, a network, a power structure that had allowed these parties, these people, and these silences to flourish unchecked for decades. And that system? Jay-Z had once been part of it. Not accused, not complicit, but present, connected. That's why prosecutors didn't just want to know where he was in 2000. They wanted to know what he saw, what he heard, what he remembered, and what he chose not to remember. Court documents revealed that federal investigators had been reviewing photos, emails, and archived guest lists from more than 24 industry parties hosted by Diddy between 1999 and 2015. Names from every corner of entertainment popped up: rappers, models, CEOs, producers. Some were redacted, some were not, but Jay-Z's name came up more than once. One source close to the case told The New Yorker, "They're not accusing him of anything, but they want context. They want to know who enabled the culture, who was in the rooms where things went wrong, who turned around and looked away." And that question, who looked away, has become the quiet indictment hanging over everyone. Jay-Z's strategy has been total transparency. In closed-door sessions, his lawyers reportedly provided prosecutors with phone records, tour schedules, jet itineraries, and even hotel check-in logs from the years in question. They weren't legally obligated to, but they did it anyway, to create distance, to draw a line. Meanwhile, in the industry, that same line is starting to show up everywhere. Publicists have begun combing through old red carpet photos, flagging images where their clients appeared alongside Diddy. Record labels have scrubbed his name from promotional copy. Some have pulled songs featuring his verses off playlists entirely. And quietly, attorneys for other celebrities have begun preparing what's being called proximity defenses. Declarations stating that their clients may have attended events hosted by Diddy, but had no knowledge of or involvement in any alleged wrongdoing. It's an unprecedented moment, one where simply knowing someone, smiling in the same photo, laughing in the same room, can cast a shadow. And for Jay-Z, the stakes are higher than most, because he wasn't just a guest, he was a peer. So now, the culture is watching, not to see if he'll be convicted, he won't be, not to see if he'll testify, he might not have to, but to see what he'll do, how he'll lead, whether he'll name names, whether he'll admit the things that weren't criminal, but were still wrong. This isn't about guilt anymore, it's about responsibility. And Jay-Z, a man who once said, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman," now finds that his brand isn't just on the line. It is the line between legacy and liability, between silence and accountability, because this story isn't over. Not for Diddy, not for the accusers, and not for the people who used to stand beside him and say nothing. And Jay-Z, he's not going down for anyone. But the real question is, will he rise above it? But that didn't stop the public from wondering, why was Jay-Z's name there at all? To understand that, you have to go back, not to the night in 2000, but to what these two men, Jay-Z and Diddy, meant to each other, and what their alliance came to symbolize. They weren't just business partners, they were architects of a new kind of wealth. They took the corner hustle and turned it into boardroom currency. Hip-hop had always been about struggle. Jay and Diddy made it about luxury, and they brought each other with them. So when 50 Cent, Diddy's longtime rival, started posting photos of the two together on Instagram with captions like, "Friends till the end? Jay, you still there?" It didn't feel like a troll, it felt like a dare. And when 50 paired those photos with Bill Withers' "Just the Two of Us," it stopped being funny. Because this wasn't just about Diddy anymore. It was about how far loyalty stretches, about whether silence is complicity, about what you do when the man you called a brother becomes a pariah. Then 50 Cent doubled down. He posted a series of images, Jay-Z and Diddy at events, backstage, arm in arm, and paired them with lines like, "We wrecked Kid Cudi's car," to show him who's the boss. LOL, the reference wasn't random. Back in 2012, Kid Cudi's car had exploded in his driveway. At the time, it was written off as a freak incident. But in Cassie Ventura's 2023 lawsuit against Diddy, she claimed Combs was so enraged over her relationship with Cudi that he promised to blow up his car. The documents were explicit. Around that time, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway, the suit stated. Later, a spokesperson for Cudi told the New York Times, "It's all true." Now, Cudi is expected to testify about that incident, about Cassie, about Diddy, about fear. And again, Jay-Z's name is back in the atmosphere, not because of evidence, but because of association, because people want to know, If you shared the table, did you share the secrets? It's not just a legal question, it's a moral one. Jay-Z's response has been calculated and aggressive. His legal team filed a motion for an emergency protective order, accusing Busby of preparing to destroy evidence. They say Busby used Jane Doe as a pawn, that he exploited her mental health issues, that she had pending charges of her own, that she was unstable. Busby denies all of it. He says his client has never recanted, that Jay-Z's investigators harassed her, threatened her, tried to coerce her into silence. And the battle between Jay-Z and Busby has now become its own courtroom spectacle. Jay-Z, for his part, says he's protecting his name, that he's defending his family. In one now viral statement, he wrote, "I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the project of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes and honor. We protect children." He also called Busby a disgrace to the Marine Corps. "You claim to be a Marine? Marines are known for their valor. You have neither valor nor dignity." But beyond the war of words, there's a deeper tension. Jay-Z might win this case. He already did. Technically, the lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice, meaning it can't be refiled. But the question remains, why was he targeted in the first place? Some say it's because he was vulnerable, that attaching Jay-Z's name to Diddy's case was a guaranteed media circus. Others say it was retaliation, pure and simple, that Busby wanted to make an example out of someone who refused to play ball. But there's another theory, that Jay-Z was always too close to the fire. He might not have known everything, he might not have done anything, but he was in the rooms, on the jets, in the photos. And now, that silence is cracking. The public wants answers, not just about who did what, but about who looked the other way, about what gets normalized when fame makes monsters invincible. Because what started as a courtroom battle has now become something else entirely. It's about reputation, about memory, about the price of proximity. And as Diddy's trial unfolds, with testimonies from Kid Cudi, Cassie Ventura, and a growing list of accusers, Jay-Z might no longer be in the defendant's chair, but his shadow lingers at the edge of every headline. He cleared his name, but not the association. And in a culture obsessed with image, sometimes that's just as damning. Even with no charges, no trial, no conviction, the world still asks, "Jay, you still there?" What do you think Jay-Z really knew? And who else might be hiding the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm reading everyone.